Friends and family, good morning. Thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. There's a lot to go over today, including many people don't know this, but on the way to flying to the Super Bowl, we had some threats to Air Force One by no other than Iran. And they tried to supposedly shoot the president's plane down. So we have been informed that there are, in fact, people from Iran in the United States with missiles. So, you see any suspicious activity, please report it because we have to protect the president at all times. Also in the Gulf of America, it's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Well, we had some earthquakes, very major ones, from like 7.9 to 8.1. Eight's a pretty major number. Now, this is around the Cayman Islands, and so it shielded us from a tsunami. But the south coast of Cuba, they could be on a high alert, and there's a possibility some waves could go up into maybe towards the Louisiana area. So in Louisiana, have a heads up on heavy waves towards Galveston. So somewhere in between Baton Rouge all the way to Galveston, heads up this morning. Also behind me, Pennsylvania. You can see that we had an explosion this morning, and this happened at a Pennsylvania plant, and that's some pretty interesting news. We got to keep a heads up when we have these type of catastrophes in the United States. I'm going to be going over a lot of things, good things starting off for America. We have tariffs now on steel, aluminum, oil. Canada is beginning to look more and more like the 51st state, and of course we have Trudeau saying what he's doing, but just so you know, I'm the Doge reporter coming up, and I am the Doge reporter with Vin Miller. We're also going to have Kyle Kemper, Justin Trudeau's brother, joining us with Colonel Ivan Raiklan, and we're going to be cleaning out that house. And as you know, we are threatening USAID. Now, they've been basically the funneling mechanism for the Clinton Foundation, and everywhere we see this word DEI or some sort of trans agenda, we find thievery. And even the Department of Education, same thing with trans and lesbian gay agendas. In the last 4 years, we've spent more money than we've spent anywhere. And today our kids are ranked out of 40 countries last, proving that they have not been educating our kids, and we need the gay stuff out of our school altogether. I'm going to say something. I want this to be a national bill that we pass. But if you're gay, you're not going to have kids, biologically speaking, so you have no place educating our kids. So in high school and below, I don't think that if you have a different preference, you should not be able to groom our kids in any way or fashion. But what I've seen, you have become enemies of parents, and there are certain states that have mutilated kids. And understand that retribution, law, and order is coming, and that your day in jail is coming too for all you people that have attacked or groomed or mutilated children. So mark my words with the Doge Commission. I'll tell you something, our eggs are being threatened. That's just because of a phony bird flu. Bird flu is not going to kill you or me or anybody. It's only China working with Fauci and USAID. As we darn well know, President Putin has requested that we hand over Dr. Anthony Fauci for crimes against humanity. Now, since we're pretty bad at judging people, I suggest we give them to Vladdy P and the KGB and just let him do what he does best. And I hear he's pretty good at teaching people how to fly, but nobody's really learned yet. Okay, so earthquakes are going off all over the world. Not only this 8 magnitude, let's say it's 7. Typically, when I see a 7, geologically speaking, I see it happen in 3 different places on the earth because she shakes and she wants to just make herself feel all even. And in Santorini out there, what we have is the same volcano that wiped out Atlantis. Now, many of you don't know where Atlantis is or what it is, so I'll show you later on. It's a piece of geology we know as the Eye of Africa in Mauritania. But when this volcano went off, a good 1500 BC, well, it wiped out Atlantis. It wiped out a lot of Egypt. And you can see through Google Earth, if you even go type in the Eye of Africa, you could see the massive tidal wave that went from Santorini all throughout over northern Africa. where it waffed and deleted and took it all out. So what that was a salt dome. But I'll let you know that our president here, President Donald Trump, has been very hard at work. And he's given us the authority to go big balls. That reminds me of my hit song I wrote in the Cayman Islands, I think, when I was about 8 years old in a swimming pool. It was big balls rolling strong. Big balls, we're number one. Big balls, we got it going on. And I'll tell you, that's for us, America. We are big balls. And that Air Force One could barely take off. But let's go on to some other subjects now. Okay, this Doge thing, what are you thinking about it? I'm thinking it's pretty awesome myself. In every single form and fashion. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to get into this missile subject. And we keep it quiet during the day, but as you know, a lot of people were trying to go after Trump, and a lot of people probably even on our own party. So when we're hearing a spin, in my opinion, about this coming from Iran, well, I'm going to say watch out for Iran and Israel. This is their war. It could come from either side. I don't trust Benjamin Netanyahu or the Ayatollah around our president. Secret Service, remember, BBs used to planting bombs and spy devices. They planted spy devices in Iran, and they blew up a building 4 years later. Silverstein, I think, was the architect of 9/11. And by the way, my major stories I'm coming out with this month here in just about a little over a week. When I go to CPAC in Washington, D.C., you'll be seeing me. We have exclusive interviews with Martin Luther King's family. We're going to be going over the unredacted files of who actually murdered our dearly beloved president. And who, I was thinking of JFK. That's because, in my opinion, Martin Luther King would have been the first black president of the United States. And I believe that our CIA and our FBI took him out. Now, as far as the other unredacted story, that would be on JFK and RFK. And we will be talking with Robert F. Kennedy and talking about the unredacted files on the CIA, the FBI, and their crimes. And thank God we're going to be able to disseminate large portions of these bureaus that are responsible for the murders of our president, their relatives, and distinguished individuals such as Martin Luther King. We have had enough. We're going to enforce it. We're going to decommission it. We're taking your money. We're starting with USAID. You're going to wonder where half you guys have went. I got an employee that basically was wondering how he couldn't go in, and let me tell you something, buddy. By your lisp, I can tell you're a part of the crime, and we're not taking it anymore. As far as other things, I'm going to let you know. We spent $15 million on condoms to the Taliban, so like $400 million on condoms here, $15 million here. This is Article 2, Section 4 bribery. This is also aiding and abetting the enemy, which is the definition of treason. Now, as far as any governor, any mayor that is harboring an illegal alien, and this includes you at home, if you have an illegal alien, you're in violation of U.S. 1324. That's guilty of a crime of 5 years in prison. So get him out of your house. Get him out of our country. Let him come in legally, because if we catch you here illegally, we're going to make it where you can never, ever come back into this country again. So pack up your bags, get out of here, and come back the legal way. As far as you murderers, well, your ass is mine. That's right. You better be sprinting to that border real soon before Pete and I find you. Mark our words on that. But you can see the extortion here, $15 million in condoms, like he's saying, and $446,000 to promote atheism in Nepal. This government has been out of control with the crimes it has done, while we have 107,000 homeless United States veterans. I could give a rat's ass about everybody in every other country and their problems until every veteran is off the street. And America 100% agrees with me. For if there's a 1 or 2%er that doesn't, you're either naturalized or an illegal alien. Get out of our country. Stop pretending. Even if you're some lame making a comment, I'm going to erase you. And as for all you hookers trying to hook up with my grandmas and grandpas, my family goes through and deletes your ass. This is not a place for you to find your friends. Get out. This is a place for us to regulate our country, to communicate so that we know about our problems from the East Coast to the West Coast. I'm going to let you know as we're drilling up there on the North Shore, reported to me by my crews, we've had a couple of days this week. It hit 70 degrees up on the northern slopes. That's pretty amazing for drilling, and it's shocking. Now keep in mind, look at these figures as we're talking here. 3.3 million for being LGBTQ in the Caribbean. I don't know very many people in the Caribbean that want to be gay. What is this nonsense? I am so sick of this stuff. This has been a war on God. See, God said he created the man and the woman, and then he commanded us to go forth and multiply. To defy the Creator's work is blasphemy itself, and in every culture that's punishable by death. Can you see why now? Can you see what happened to an out-of-control abomination to the Lord? When we had an Obama in, we were an Obama nation. Oh yeah, Big Mike did that. For a man shall not dress like a woman shall not dress like a man, and a man shall not sleep with a man as a woman, and a woman shall not sleep with a woman as a man. These are abominations to the Lord. Do not fool yourself. Do not try to make negotiations with Christ, because that is what the Bible is for. It is your basic information before leaving earth, the Bible. The Holy Bible, your basic information before leaving earth. I suggest you read it from the first page to the very last page, from in the beginning to the end, so you don't have a preacher like Joel Osteen say, now turn to page 400. Now turn to page 200. You know, on page 700, you're graced, and if you give me that money, you're going to be graced, and God will give you all this grace that you need. Can you stop it with the malarkey, sir, you phony? That is not it at all. Do unto others the way you want done to yourself, but above all, love. Speaking of love, I'm going to show you some love. Now, I agree with everything pretty much that we're doing, but there are some things that I don't agree with. But I will let you see something here before I go on. This is some USAID staff. This is us in Washington. And our Doge reporters in action. We got Vin Miller. We have 4 generals, 12 colonels. We are going around cleaning house. You can hear stuff about big balls and children. Do not let that fool you. There could be high-ranking military people cleaning house. Don't think this is all 12-year-olds, my friends, or 18-year-olds, because it is not. There are very high-ranking officers cleaning house as we speak. And I want you to be relieved from that, because you cannot believe the nonsense that you hear everywhere. Now, I want you to see some tsunami action. Some major tsunamis have been happening around the Cayman Islands and in various areas, and I do mean major. These were 8.2 to 8.0. And I'm going to get over that, because I think that the world is upset with this, just like we saw Sodom and Gomorrah that hit California, as we had our 4 women that sleep with women in abomination to the Lord. And you don't know this, but one of them attacked their significant others with a knife. That'd be Chris Kepner. That's right. And they suppressed this evidence, but if you look at Kepner, you'll find out that she attacked her female lover with the knife. And a very brutal relationship between these 2 women. But they suppressed it because they want you to think they have normal lives, and then I guess they want us to believe that gay people in their relationships don't fight and don't have arguments. But I guess just so you know, mental instability is mental instability, and their percentages of mental instability are in fact higher. Okay, so this is what we're looking at here. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's going to relate to Santorini, that I'm going to show you the Eye of Africa, which is Atlantis, and how these catastrophes not only happen, but when I drill into the planet, I'm looking at the last 280 million years of organic data. And I try to remind society that we go through systematic ice ages about every 12,800 years and every 25,000 years, roughly 26,000 years, and it follows, believe it or not, the zodiac. And we hadn't put this together until recently, but what's happening is the zodiac is actually following a minute wobble that we do very minutely when we wobble around looking at Polaris. So Polaris is the North Star, but it's not dead on. And it does a minor wobble, and it takes 12,500 years, and it's per cycle. And people say, well, that's not biblical. And I'm like, oh. It isn't. Some of you don't know that, remember, King Herod had to kill all of the firstborn because of what? He knew, according to the stars and the zodiac, that what? Christ was about to be born. Yeah, and many don't know he was the Christ of Pisces, and Pisces is the oldest sign in the zodiac. No, it's not. It's February. No, October 8, November 9, December a decimal 10, February, January 11, February 12th. Christ was the finalized Christ of Christ and Shiva and Krishna. And so it's pretty easy to convert any Hindu into a Christian because they get it. And he was the finalized Christ, even according to the zodiac, when Castor and Pollux was born. And that is that. So if you take 2150 times 6, you'll get 12,900. And times another 2, you're going to get this roughly 25,800 year cycle. And what I'm telling you is every 13,000 to 26,000 some odd years, and it kind of mimics the zodiac. When the water has a water bearer, oddly enough, we pick up meteorites and ice comets. And the world goes through this transition. And I'm going to show you some transitions that are pretty interesting. Now, as far as us in Greenland, that's another thing. But listen to this. Santorini, okay? Santorini's going off. We've had 5,000 earthquakes, but many don't know what it is. Well, it's a collapsed supervolcano. And in the middle of this collapsed supervolcano, it's filling up full of magma, and hasn't done it in the past. Well, in the Old Testament, we can see where pumice was landing out of the sky and how the oceans turned and the rivers turned into blood. And geologically speaking, the last time this volcano went off was the last time several volcanoes were going off in the area, including this one. And the pillars in the Red Sea, in which Moses used, and those earthquakes were so massive, they created the tsunami to where the Jews could walk across and escape the Pharaoh during that perfect timing of the Lord. No kidding. So what we have here is this island behind me, and what you're seeing in the circle is the center of a supervolcano, and it's filling up and it's filling up. Now, I could say some things might be going on, but I want you to know that even Israel is on high alert. What is Israel on high alert for? It's on high alert for a tsunami. But I bet it ain't going to go off until we build everything and we kick everybody out and we do what we shouldn't be doing. I like everything that Trump is doing. I think we're doing great things for our country, but when I look at this behind me, it gets me sick. I think that all Americans actually agree with me. I think that we need to put America first, and all this bombing that went on in Gaza, it's not worth it for America. I think that we shouldn't be involved. I think we should treat our neighbors the way we want to be treated ourselves. We want to turn this into a golf course. I think Greenland's okay. There's only 50,000 people in Greenland. There's 1.9 million people here. White phosphorus bombs. Now we trace the money trail back to the paragliders, back to our own CIA, FBI. This is part of what Doge has been doing. So we know that we created the theater of October 7th. So we're taking it how far with the theater? With the hostages. Now tell me something. Where did these hostages live in Gaza here? Just so that you don't buy this. I think they were in this building right here. That's where they were keeping them safe. See, maybe they were keeping them in this building safe. Yeah. Or if there were hostages that were kept safe, would we buy the answer, oh, you know what? You accidentally blew them up in that building right there. How much are we going to believe when we trace the money back to ourselves? That's what I'm getting at. And even with USAID, I'm proving every day how we're giving billions of dollars to every country and millions and hundreds of millions to every country. Even the $400 million in condoms could have easily funded the first mission 400 times over. These were paragliders. The operation was $250,000 so that we could take over and destroy Gaza and so that we could displace people that have been there since before the Bible. If you open your Bibles and you want to find Gaza, it's actually called Gaza Heights. It's listed in Genesis, and this is before even, Abraham and Sarah were granted their property from Melchizedek. This was even during the time when Jerusalem was not the town of Jerusalem, but the town of Salem, because Jodu means new and Salem means peace, just like New York and York. Well, Gaza is so old it was in the days during of Salem. Now, Jerusalem has been razed to the ground completely 4 times, taken over 44 times. The Ashkenazis that are ruling most of it today, well, those were the Jews that were taken over by King Nebuchadnezzar in 586. And instead of returning to Jerusalem, they went up into Russia and into Europe, and they became German, hence Ashkenazi. There are 303 of these Jews that did that, and they're modern-day Europeans. Now, the Semitic Jews, the ones that speak Arabic, if you want to be anti-Semitic, those are the ones that we'd be referring to, because Ashkenazi Jews are not Semitic people. So we have non-Semitic Jews that are kicking Semitic Jews out of the land. But if that's okay with you, I'll be brainwashed just like the rest of us. And you can ignore all these buildings, and you can believe all the media and hype that we're doing a good job and that we're representing America. I don't think that hate breeds love. Hate breeds hate. Love breeds love. What we're being forced to believe is that the people of Lebanon are trash. The people of Iraq are trash. The people of Jordan are trash. The people of Egypt are trash. And only the people of Israel matter. The new Ashkenazi Jews. And I think that that's the brainwashing that we're supposed to accept. So if you have friends from these countries, what are we supposed to say to them? I'm sorry. This is the bad news of America. Other than that, we are doing some fantastic things. But when I see all of this going on, it does get me sick. So it's just like, even though I agree with every single thing just about we're doing, I don't agree with this. And I think that it is wicked, and I think it exists on both sides. I think we've been brainwashed, and I think that George Soros and Zelensky and Netanyahu have had a big part in that. And so it's related. Trump, just see it. Why do you think you're suing 60 Minutes? Behind me, you're going to see how there's all this redacted stuff. Trump has a $10 billion lawsuit against 60 Minutes. Sir, shut it down. Yes, they lied about Kamala Harris. Yes, they're lying about everything. Yes, it is Jewish propaganda, and it's Ashkenazi Zionist propaganda. But again, at the same time, why would they do that? Well, her husband, Doug Ermhoff, is a Jew of BlackRock and Blackstone, and he's very, very powerful. And that power is the same power that can manipulate even what you see. Now, again, my only main thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep the president alive, and I want him to understand what he's seeing. And so I'll call him he's swimming with sharks in the worst way. Listen to this phony news. This is what I'm battling every day. Okay?
Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities, Mid-Michigan communities. We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces. But we are concerned about trouble irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
All paid for by George Soros and Zionistic Jews to brainwash you at home. Wake up, America. This is the type of nonsense I'm fighting. This is why this oil man has dedicated his life to peace and freedom, because I see through the malarkey. That's why none of these people are worth tits on a boar. They're not worth tits on a boar. It's like having a homo bull on your ranch. If you ain't breeding cows, I guess all you're going to be is new meat on a stick for me. Now, I'm going to tell you something here. America's Mideast ally turns against Trump. That's the big news out on the totem pole for me, and that should be for you. What this is and what we've been fighting is, can MBS unite with Bibi so that we can actually have a stronghold to have oil and gas? Wake up. And if we can't, well, I got a drill like the Days of Thunder, and they're getting me to do it. Drill, baby, drill. If you need to get in contact with me, well, Adam Good is getting overwhelmed, and I'm starting to get delegates and different people in every state to run it so that we can actually move as effectively as possible. We've got some major projects that have ramped up, including with Exxon, things that I can't talk about. It is looking significant. And with the tariffs that are coming up, I think this is going to look like many people don't understand. But when we went from Jimmy Carter to Reagan, we were making a lot of money with Jimmy Carter. And believe it or not, even though Reagan was great, we were suffering for a little bit. So I want you to know we might even have a 2 to 6 month slowdown before things really ramp up, but things will really ramp up. But Carter didn't put this beautiful tariff thing into effect, and that's what I want you to understand. Now, the big problem with America completely is Netanyahu. Even though Trump loves him, I can't stand the guy, so there you go. Love Trump, I'd take a bullet for Trump. And I hope, Trump was blaming Gaza and what it looked like on Netanyahu, and he's kicking him out. And that's giving the people safety. Safety from who? Netanyahu. Now, I would rather have an alliance with the 2 billion Muslims around so that we could have some safety. But we have a world war that Netanyahu is trying to start between Judaism and Islam. And our Constitution, like I try to tell us in America, said what? It said, Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of a religion, meaning let's not mess with these people at all. And I tell you, from Canada down to Argentina, I see an entire continent, 2 continents that embrace Jesus Christ. And so Jesus is one. And you let Islam and Hinduism work it out between themselves. People ask me about Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard, and I will remind you, even with Trump trying to make everybody happy, I'm not. I think we've been Indianed out. I want you to know Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat that became a Republican, and she's also the only person to swear on the Bhagavad Gita. Her and Kash Patel are both Hindus. I believe that we live in a Christian country. That is actually my opinion on it. So I do not believe that we should be messing around with Gaza. I think it's a Jew-Muslim situation, and it's draining us financially, and they will never get along. They've not gotten along for 2,500 years. They've definitely not gotten along since the creation of Islam. In 700, who are we fooling? That's why the Founding Fathers 248 years ago made those words, don't get involved in a religious scuffle, basically. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Now, as far as MBS, Did you know he married a woman from Texas? And he's been spotted going into a couple of churches. I think Christ is one. You just got to hear me out. And we need to pay attention to these good things. But right now, MBS is basically saying the reason why he's having a tough time is because MBS recognizes Netanyahu is much like Zelensky. They're termed out presidents. Why are they being allowed to be vicious American puppets? Speaking of Zelensky, he's getting his butt handed to him. I suggest he just lost another 26,000 troops yesterday, and we're about seeing the total onslaught slaughter of the Ukraine, and that would be by Vladdy P and the KGB. And these are just facts, and they're facts that you can't deny. News is out from the war room. I'm going to let you know. Uncle Steve has told me, and you think you're going to throw Uncle Steve in jail and have us not come get your ass? You must be dreaming. So the word is, and I'm going to tell you, turds, if you've stolen money from us, if you are corrupt, I don't care what congressman or politician you are, you're going to go to prison. We're going to expose it. Be watching Vim Miller and Chris Sanders on the Doge Reporter with Colonel Ivan Reichlin, General Flynn, and several brass as we stream ass because America deserves justice. That's just all there is to it. This ain't a commercial. This is know that we're coming after you. And I'm coming after you for every kid that you've tried to brainwash. How dare you? And that's just a fact. Now, we do have an interesting team. There are people on the team that you might not even know about, but don't think that it's just a savant that's back there. But we do have big balls that are rolling strong. Big balls that are number one. Huh. Big balls. That's my number one song in the Cayman Islands. And basically, people don't like that. But the Department of Government Efficiency, we have a team of young guys, young girls, old girls, but it's the red, white, and blue, and we're coming after you. Everybody in the USAID, including Chelsea Clinton, she's been thieving our money, and I do not really want to pay for one dime of Chelsea Clinton's marriage or any of the Clintons' crap. In fact, it's time for retribution. They need to pay us back, or they need to just be prosecuted. So right now we're supposed to be thinking that the Hindus are crushing the deep state, and these Hindus would be Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard. My fear is that we're going to wake up and America is going to become the Costco in Plano, Texas, and that they're going to do some underhanded thing where all of a sudden we're going to have 300,000, a million more Indian families. And the difference is they're not matriculating with other families. And then we just have their population in our country, whereas every other country is usually coming in through a service member, and they're a mixed race. So we like to see mixed races where there's an American man or woman with his immigrant wife. But when we have purebred countries coming over here by the millions, and they bring their culture, it diminishes the fabric of the United States of America. And then we see our values and our ethics, everything you learned at the Boy Scouts, walking a woman across the road, holding her hand while you're going downstairs, standing up when she comes to the table, opening the door for a woman, not competing with the woman in sports. These are all American values that are being disseminated and disgraced and dismantled by Muslims like Barack Hussein Obama and this USAID gay agenda. It is un-American. It has nothing to do with America. Its time is finished. But we got to shut the door on mass immigration because the immigrants don't see this, and they think that we're just a country that embraces something that's wicked. It was nothing to do with America. That system, that way of life has nothing to do with America. And the problem about immigrants in high places is that they don't know really what America was. So sure, I can respect the flip-flopping, but my point is I think that we need people. You know, Elon Musk is a great man too, but he is South African. We have a lot of foreigners here, and I want to see them do massive stuff. Here we got a case where there's a judge, Paul A. Enkelmeyer, and he's basically trying to block us and the department, when I say that, Department of Government Efficiency, we have a judge trying to block us from going on into it. And this would be a federal judge. And we shouldn't be allowing that to happen. Oh, beautiful thing. I just saw my buzzards take off. I raise all sorts of birds, mallards, pheasants. And this year it was pretty weird, but I had a pair of buzzards, and they raised this baby. And he was pure white and was afraid of me, and now he's kind of a pet. But I got pets all around and love animals of every kind. And just so you know, we discovered a way, and we're going to show this on Maha later on our Maha News channel with Major News Network. And if you want to find this TV channel on Roku Smart TV, just type in Major News Network as the app, and it'll come up on all your smart TVs or on your smartphone, such as your iPhone or your, oh, there's my ducks there flying in, or your Amazon channel and smartphone. So if you have an iPhone, you can go to the apps and see this. Now I'm going to show you the dangers of what's going on, and a lot of people didn't understand as far as when I was talking about the Eye of Africa. But I'm going to, instead of that, still more news. We got our girls that are fighting out there, girls I love. Good old Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are our patriot women. And we are trying to throw Ilhan Omar, and Ocasio-Cortez is unhinged in a meltdown after we removed Ilhan Omar from her committee. That's right, if you're sleeping with your brother and you're illegally here, you're lucky if we don't deport your butt, which you really should be deported in my opinion. And everybody remembers the standing ovation that Trump got last night at the Super Bowl. What I want you to see here is Kamala Harris sitting just in the crowd at a Los Angeles Lakers game. And even when she walked in, nobody gave a rat's ass that she's there because she can't even string a sentence together. Get real. What a lame brain, married to a BlackRock Jew. And if anything, it's being pushed to us by both of them on both sides, and I'm sick of it. Take care of us first. But look at how lame she is. Nobody's even turning around while she's literally in the crowd right there. So heels up, Harris, your days are gone. Your days are numbered. And that's just a fact that I wanted you to see. American people deserve to see that kind of stuff. And they're so darn afraid of, Trump. But again, going to the Super Bowl. This towelhead here behind me, he threatened my president. You don't threaten my president, buddy. Period. And if you want to keep that up, well, you're going to make everybody in Persia quake in their boots. So, people of Iran, I suggest you regulate this old man so that our man doesn't come over and hunt you down. And I'm saying this because I want peace and stability in Iran. And this is not Joe Biden that you're messing with here. This guy's allowed to probably talk off the hinges about Jackwagon Joe because that was basically an argument at the old folks' home. That's not what you're looking at now, Iran. You're looking at if you keep this guy in office and if he keeps on talking smack to President Trump, well, America will respond. Now, I'm going to let you know the days of pedophiles. If you're some pedophile, we're coming after you. We're going to arrest you at home. Then we're going to throw you in a prison with a lot of male fathers, and they're going to do to you what you need done to you. So here's a story we got. A secretive Christian sect with Arizona ties was under a probe. And this guy was trafficking children. And I want you to know, and good job, Tempe Police, is they got the search warrant, and they got this guy, Raymond Zeifholfer. And that again, Raymond Zeifholfer. I'm just showing this so when he shows up to the jail, all my dads in jail know what to do with this guy right here. And you know what that is? That's called father's retribution. So all you pedophiles that eventually get into El Pinta, you're going to get what's called a father's welcoming. And you're going to love it. At least the dads are. And so this guy here, he had a company, and just like every other scumbag, he thought that he could do stuff. And he had World Software Corporation called World Docs. And if you have that company, if you're working with it, stop, because basically he had a pedophile in in the seat. And in my opinion, this guy needs the death penalty. If not, castrate him, cut his nuts off, and let him, still live in a cell. You do anything to a child, this is what you deserve, period. The days of preying on our boys and girls are over. If you doubt that, well, I'm going to show you some proof right now. Right here is our leader, our commander-in-chief, and he's signing documents right here to save every little young boy that there is. And I'll show you another time when he did the same thing for every girl. This is a man that loves you. This is a man that loves me. And look at how he is. And this boy, he has to come. Look at this. He has to hug our president. Look at him looking at our president right there. And he's like, I'm next to the president of the United States, and I got to give him a hug because he's my president. Look at him. He's trying to hug President Trump. Trying to hug him again, and he's got to give him a hug. See, that's what you call non-creepy great man. Not like, sniffing Joe. No. Now I'm going to show you another great moment for America right here. This is the moment when no weird, mentally ill boy will ever be able to compete with any of our girls again. So thank you, President Trump, for protecting my grandmother, my mother, my daughter, so that we can be better fathers, husbands, and sons. This is what America is about. And when we have too many foreigners here, they don't understand the fabric of our society, where we put women first, we hold them up on a pedestal because they are the leaders of our family and our home, and that's what America is all about. And we can't have that if we have degenerate men competing with the backbones of our households. And so I want you to see the difference here, America. Look at this. Look at how beautiful this is. And there's nothing but beauty behind this. And he did this, our president did this to protect every girl. Not in just the United States, but it starts here at home. So from here on out, we're going for the protection of women so that they can't be competed against. And this is the first step because, in my opinion, when you have this DEI stuff, what you were doing was you were legalizing domestic violence. You're allowing men to compete and hurt women and just claim that they're mentally ill. Throw on a wig and I guess it's okay, huh? Not in my book and not in the president's book. The days of darkness are over. So thank you so much for protecting our children. And, I just had to show you these beautiful moments that have been shared and just look at how this is. This is not like Joe Biden going up and sniffing everybody's hair. This is America's grandpa, America's president, and he just saved all of our girls. Our enemies in the United States, I'm going to show you what we need to do. We need to pull the can of whip ass out. And we already hit Somalia and ISIS, and we destroyed them in their hole. We're already rocking and rolling. Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. Thank you, Pete. And through Dr. Sebastian Gortko, we got some intel of the caves of Somalia and in certain areas, and we blew ISIS to kingdom come. And USS Gerald Ford did that. USS Gerald Ford Strike Group, thank you boys and girls out there for doing a miraculous job on our F-18 Strike Force and Hornets as we eliminated the threat to Israel and the United States in the area. That's what a real military does. And understand, that's why I'm telling Iran, you better cool it, because we just took out ISIS in a day in a complete country. There's a lot of smart people in Iran, and we do not want you to be next because of a religious radical. Let me show you one of my buddies up there. Vashon, you did a great job. This is actually one of my pals I hang around with. You never would have guessed, huh? MAGA is as MAGA does, and Vashon's representing us up there strong, doing a good job as he always does, and Tom Homan and Vashon and us. See, you don't know this, but us patriots, we're going to make sure every one of you illegals gets out. And Vashon's going to spot you up in Chicago because he's protecting Chicago. And it's good Americans like him and I that dedicate our lives. And we do it back to back so that we can keep America red, white, and blue. I hope you feel me out there so you know who I am. Now, other than that, I want you to know that Doge is going to be cleaning out the Pentagon. So General Michael Flynn, I'm going to be working with the members of his family, you shall see, coming up here pretty soon. And we're going to be cleaning house, and I'm looking forward to being the good cop finally. Normally I can't, but with Colonel Ivan Reichland, I feel sorry for everybody that we're going to entangle. But I am pretty good at cuffing people, but that's basically what's going to be happening. And we look forward to it. Very much so. This earthquake that I was talking about, I'm going to show you the epicenter right here south of Cuba. Do you see it? That's why I was saying the southern parts of Cuba are going to have basically tsunami warnings going off. And this was going magnitude 7.6 to 8.2 and epicenter right around the Cayman Islands. Now, as you can see, there's a very narrow gap where it can come through in these waves and hit from maybe New Orleans over here through into Galveston. So from New Orleans, and again, right through basically the Yucatan, right up in here. So I'm saying to Baton Rouge, maybe into Mississippi, into Galveston, high alert on waves. The reason why we're going to have wave activity is because of the massive earthquakes we're having. And so the earth is releasing some pressure right now. Now, we're getting near that time, and again, with Santorini filling up, it's reminding me of what it did roughly 3,500 years ago. And so I'm going to be talking about a little bit more than just that. So I should be showing you what the Eye of Africa will be looking like, possibly. In the meantime, this is super high alert, and I want you to know that we have to worry about this. Again, it's shaken to kingdom come. We normally don't have stuff like this that's that extreme. And magnitude 8 is extremely big. Until I find that, I'm going to let the Hodge twins talk so that you can understand. Now we're able to arrest illegal immigrants in schools and in churches. You can't hide in those areas anymore. And brothers at the Hodge twins, my Texas boys, are basically exposing that, and I think it's pretty interesting. But ICE raids in Colorado have been going on, and you cannot hide from it. The Eye of Africa, this is Atlantis. A lot of people don't know where Atlantis is and what it is. This is not a meteorite impact. This is, in fact, a salt dome. And if you type Eye of Africa, you can see it right here. So we have a collapsed salt dome, and when it collapsed, basically in the middle, we had geothermal fresh water coming out of it for a while in the northern shores of Mauritania. This is Atlantis. We've confirmed this now for about the past 7 years. No, excuse me, 18, 19, 21. Since about 2018, we've known about this. We try to find areas that have looked like meteorite impacts, but this is, this is a collapsed dome. And I bring it up because it was a civilization that was very well known, and it was taken out. And it was taken out, in my opinion, by the Santorini volcano. And the Bible lines up with it, the pyramids of Giza line up with it, and the Pharaoh does too. But as you can see, right in through here, a massive wave did come through, and it came through the Mediterranean, and then it wafted out. And so the Eye of the Sahara, which is, if you look at this, 201 million years ago during the Jurassic period, we've had quite a bit of evolution that's happened as far as with Pangea on out and plate tectonic action. But this Santorini volcano is a super volcano in an area, and that whole area up into Crete is the exo area of this volcano. And so what Santorini is the dome. Now, Atlantis was a salt dome. This is a magma dome that I'm talking about, and it's slowly loading up again, full of magma, and so is Yellowstone. And so we have these super volcanoes, and it's funny, the 7 trumpets of the world, and there happens to be 7 super volcanoes. And as they load up, they sound like trumpets, and as they go off, they shut out the sun. Constantine in 325 AD experienced quite a bit of darkness, and these volcanoes were a part of the culprit. That's when around also he blent sun god pantheism into Judaism. So he combined the Sabbath with the sun god day in 325. He created the weekend. We got extra holidays such as Easter, and we turned Christmas into the sun god's birthday. Now, if we look at this and go on, we can see Africa, we can see the Cameroon line, we can see everything that is doing, but we have so much geology that is moving. And what weird timing. So as soon as we talk about taking over Gaza, tsunami warnings are claimed for Gaza. Now, we could say it's coincidental or not. I'll leave you to speculate that, but the common denominator is this Santorini volcano. And if it goes off, there's no much building we could do that could protect them from what's going to be coming. And I think that this is the same water erosion that we saw in Giza with the Sphinx and everything else, and it came from a massive explosion by all the water of the Mediterranean blowing out like a bomb. Now, do you know how big that explosion was? It was 1,000 times the size of Mount St. Helens. Wow, that's pretty big, isn't it? So, 1,000 times the size of Mount St. Helens coming up out of the water right there. And that's, again, it wafted over all over Africa. And you can see the tidal wave from outer space today when you look into the eye of Africa. You wonder, where did all that water come from that flooded out the entire city? And as Plato said, that a volcano took it out within a day, and it was a volcano that came from right exactly with where they were at. So this is the eye of the Sahara. It's the eye of Africa. And for those of you that have wondered where Atlantis is, this is where it is. It's in Mauritania, south of the Atlas Mountains. It lines up to the stories of Plato and everyone. And so there were elephants there. There's also white, red, and black stone there. And everything lines up with what we're seeing with the eye of Africa and Santorini. So the biggest other items that we're going to be going after this week, USAID is one, and the prosecution list from there is going to at least last throughout the year, but we have so many officials that have been caught, and the Pentagon, just so you know, is our next target. But as far as the numbers and fraud that we're going after, they are astonishing. Okay? It's just, it's hard to almost comprehend numbers, and I'll tell you some numbers I'm going to try to verify. And this might blow your socks off here. And we couldn't come up on everything and totally, but I'm telling you what we might be speculating coming up. And this is pretty major. Listen to this. And these are the amounts of money that the Ukrainian officials have given back to U.S. politicians as kickbacks. So again, basically Zelensky said he couldn't find $100 billion out of the $174 billion. So this is a heads up. We have Joe Biden pocketing $92 million that we can't find. Mitch McConnell, $89 million. Nancy Pelosi, $86 million. Chuck Schumer, $66 million. These are payouts from Zelensky that he says that he has given as kickbacks to U.S. officials. Lindsey Graham, $82 million. Mitt Romney, $71 million. John Cornyn, $41 million. Adam Schiff, $62 million. Dan Crenshaw, funny Dan, $20 million. Elizabeth Cheney, there you go. You knew she was corrupt, and why? $77 million. Kevin McCarthy, $42 million. Jamie Raskin, $38 million. You ever think Jamie Raskin was just a POS and definitely working against the United States of America? Well, perhaps it's because $38 million. Mike Pence, ever wonder why he overthrew the government and certified fraud? $61 million. Greg Pence, $17 million. Rick Scott, $63 million. Hakeem Jeffries, $74 million. Ilhan Omar, $33 million. And Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, $42 million. You see, this is what they're afraid of. I am the Doge reporter. We're going to be coming after your ass because your ass is mine for these crimes. It's not just an exposure. Now you got Zelensky squealing like a pig. They'll probably take him out before we can basically give this to you, but as he has told us already, these are the numbers. I'm going to be reading them off again because I want the American public to be truly pissed off at the criminals that you guys truly are, and we do not need to basically be doing anything. I want you to know that Egypt is uniting everybody in America against the United States. Egypt, again, is uniting all the Arabs against the United States. Why do we give Egypt $1 billion? Why? Okay. Why are we promoting $6 million in Egypt with USAID? What's wrong with promoting tourism in New Mexico and South Dakota, folks? Egypt, you can kiss my ass. I don't need to give you $1 for anything. Don't care about a whole bunch of camels in the desert. I'd rather feed some quarter horses and buffalo in my country. Thank you very much. And I'm sure I speak for everybody in the United States. So again, I'm tired of dealing with those people. They're violent. Their culture sucks. They don't know how to treat each other. It's un-American in every kind of way. And all it does is basically wreak fraud to me. Again, we have Kash Patel and Tulsi going in. If we can have a couple of Hindus straighten us out. But what's wrong with having a Christian religious radical do it? I mean, you want a Hindu radical? Well, two can play that game. I'm just letting you know. We got the clearance gone for Biden, and we're going to be rolling it. People wonder why we have to have the clearance gone from Biden. Again, Joe Biden. Scores we're hearing the Ukraine, these are the amounts of money that the Ukrainian officials have given to U.S. politicians as kickbacks, according to Ukrainian officials. Joe Biden, $92 million. We can't have him having security clearance while we're analyzing his theft on us, you and me, the people of the United States. Mitch McConnell, you're $89 million. Nancy Pelosi, you're $86 million. Chuck Schumer, you're $66 million. Lindsey Graham, you $82 million. Mitt Romney, $71 million. John Cornyn, $41 million. Adam Schiff, $62 million. Dan Crenshaw, $20 million. Elizabeth Cheney, $77 million. Kevin McCarthy, $42 million. Jamie Raskin, $38 million. Mike Pence, traitor, vice president, $61 million. Greg Pence, $17 million. Rick Scott, $63 million. Hakeem Jeffries, $74 million. Ilhan Omar, who should be deported, $33 million, and Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas at $42 million. These are not stacks at a poker game or even gambles at a betting lodge, but what Zelensky says he gave in kickbacks to the United States of America so that we wouldn't be true and free and so that we'd have all this DEI woke nonsense that's been the problem since the day they took office. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now's the time for us to have retribution. The Muslim world is now gaining its forces against you and I, and they're doing it because of Gaza. My whole point is, why are we in Gaza? You can't tell me that what we did was innocent when I know that there's 14,000 children that are rubbling through the mire. It is a disgusting war, and I do not believe in harming children because I am a Christian. When the disciples wanted to know who was the most favored among them, all of them gathered around. And Jesus put a child on his knee and he said, "This one comes before all of us." There's a message there. He didn't say it was a Jew child, any race. The message is that we're supposed to put all of our children first, all of our neighbors' children first. When I see these pictures behind me, I don't see how we as Christians can be putting our neighbors' children first. I'm not telling us to go and fund them. No, we already paid for the destruction. I'm telling us to mind our own business. How are we supposed to see clearly when we have a plank in our own eye? First, remove the speck from your brother's eye. Then remove the plank from your eye so that you can see clearly. If we can't see, if we can't protect our borders, if we can't protect our own homeless, if we can't even feed our own homeless, if we can't rebuild our own cities, how are we supposed to rebuild this one behind us? My name is Chris Sanders. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Thank you for joining me. You have the permission to share this on any platform and any platform that you wish, because my job is here to protect our children and to safeguard the United States of America. Thank you for joining me at the American News Network, Major News Network, and the Doge Report and Doge Reporter. God bless you, and amen.